If you are a business owner, public figure, or in high level of leadership, and you want to curate an abundant, balanced life by uncovering the blocks that stand in your way and tune into your own wisdom, you are in the right place. In this podcast, we talk about personal and professional tools and strategies so that you can elevate your potential, expand your impact, and enjoy your life. I'm your host, Angela Williams. I'm a licensed therapist, coach, guide, speaker, educator, avid beachgoer, and I've helped thousands of clients achieve personal growth and transformation. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Bigger, Braver Life show. I'm so excited to be back. If you didn't notice, took a bit of a hiatus. I was on maternity leave. I gave birth to our son about 9 months ago and took my time getting back into work for various reasons, including my own health and healing journey, which I'll be sharing about in another episode. But I'm just happy to be back and to share all of the wonderful insights, wisdom, and tools with you so that you can expand your impact, elevate your potential, and enjoy your life. I wanted to start by sharing a recent podcast episode I was in. One of my colleagues, Stacy, Zeal, has her own podcast called Roadmap to 1 Million, and she was gracious enough to have me on her podcast. Stacy's podcast teaches next-level CEOs how to streamline their marketing so they can build a profitable 7-figure online business without burning out. She has over 11 years of marketing expertise to reveal marketing and advertising strategies that you need to maximize your marketing and take your business to the next level. This podcast episode is about prioritizing your self-care and investing in yourself as you are building a sustainable and enjoyable business. The road as an entrepreneur can be difficult, it can be challenging, and especially in times of growth, we really need to prioritize taking care of ourselves so that we can continue sustainably, especially as a lot of things that are new can pose a threat to our nervous system. That's kind of how our brain interprets new things. And that's not just for you alone, right? That's all of us. So it's kind of how our brain works. So these are some tried and true and regular exercises that I practice and share with my clients. So I'm happy to share that with you today. So welcome back to the show. We've got some new listeners. Welcome. And here is, without further ado.
Welcome. I hope that you are having a fantastic day. I am excited today because we are going to be talking about self-care. We're going to be talking about stress. We're going to be talking about growing your business and navigating that. And I have an expert, y'all, because y'all know, like, I love self-care. That's my jam. I've had a podcast about self-care, all the things. So I used to be a yoga teacher. Self-care is my jam. But y'all, we actually have a licensed therapist and a coach in the building today that is going to be able to break this down for us. So I'm excited, whether you're listening on the podcast or whether you're watching us live, I'm excited for y'all to get this information. So before we get started, I would love to introduce Angela Williams to the stage. Please tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, who you serve, all the things.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Stacy. My name is Angela Williams. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a coach. I'm really excited to be here today. I am a new mom. I've also got a little fur baby. Well, he's not a baby. He's old. He's like 7 now. But anyway, I live here in Florida. Love to go to the beach. Those are some fun things. Love reading, all that great stuff. But what I really love to do is work with leaders, entrepreneurs, and CEOs to really help elevate their potential, expand their impact, and enjoy their lives.
I love that because I feel like we are just in such of a season as business owners. At least for me, I'll speak for myself. Like, I want to enjoy my life. Like, I have never been the person that's like, I am going to hustle now, sacrifice everything now so that way maybe in 10 years I can, loosen up the reins a little bit. I want to enjoy my life now while I'm building my business, while I'm making an impact. And so I love that that's what you do and that's who you serve. Tell us a little bit about your background. Like, how did you get into, because I know that you are a licensed social worker and then you transitioned to coaching. So tell us a little bit about that transition and your background.
Yeah, thanks for asking. Yes. So I started in the field of psychology. I did a lot of things, research. I was working in adoption. I was working in crisis. I was doing a lot of different pieces. But really what inspired me to get into psychology and social work is actually coming from the family that I come from. So my mom and dad both have a ton of siblings on each side. So my dad is from a family of 10. My mom's from, or sorry, from a family of 8. My mom is from a family of 10. So we've got all sorts of different personalities. We've got awesome strengths. We got, difficulties, right? Like so many things going on in the family. And I was so fascinated by how could this be? How could they be so wildly different? How, what makes somebody really excel and what makes somebody really struggle? And I just really was inspired by my family, most notably, actually, one of my grandmothers. And she was basically, a really important caregiver in our life. And I just think about how, her life could have been different had her circumstances be different. So she she raised like 8 kids. She was really good with like numbers and things like that. But she also was depressed, and she also had a really, difficult life at the end. And so, I really think about that, and I'm like, wow, I want to be the person that's helping other people so that they can tap into their potential, so that they can have the life that they desire. And really, that's the inspiration for me. And so I got into therapy, and then I was trained in trauma, really trauma informed practices. One of those being EMDR, which stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Have you heard of that therapy before, Stacy?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so it's super fascinating. There's a lot of applications, but basically what we're doing is we are the original use of it was going to find a distressing situation or event in our life, and we're desensitizing that because a lot of times we can get caught in those feelings and those memories. So I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but you bring up a memory that happened and maybe it wasn't so great, and you feel the feelings come up in your body, right? Your body keeps the score, your body remembers. So what we do is we, activate both sides of the brain while we go back and, look at the same situation and change our fundamental belief about that situation to make it more adaptive for us. So sorry, that was a lot of stuff, but that's one practical application that I use in therapy. So trauma began to get, kind of heavy. And so I said, I love and thrive working with people on their visions and their goals and springboarding forward. And that's what I really wanted to help people with. And I adapted that EMDR toolkit into a coaching setting format so that we can work on enhancing performance, enhancing a lot of those pieces that we're going to talk about today, the calmness, the curiosity, the compassion, ways to be that full leader showing up. So that's a little bit about that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your background. I love that you mentioned that, your having like such a big family really kind of sparked your curiosity about, like how do people operate and how is this personality different than that personality? I think that's fantastic. And I love that, you help us business owners specifically with enjoying the journey. I think that that's something that a lot of people in the online business owner space, because we're just always on, right? Like, there's like, if you have a brick and mortar, like, there's an open and a close, right? Like typically, your store closes, you go home, whatever. But online businesses, we're always on, right? We're always like jumping on Facebook. We're always, marketing. We're always, connected and touching devices and things like that. And so, what are some signals that we would have as a business owner and in our life that we are stressed out or that we really are reaching that point or creeping towards burnout? What are some things that we would have going on that would help us to like, to be like, oh, wait a minute, like now, like this is getting a little too much.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I actually had my own bout of burnout as I was transitioning into my therapy business, the first business that I created. I was working a full-time job, and so I ended up working at length for 7 days a week to try to boost my business while I was still working my 9 to 5, 8 to 5, whatever. So the way that it manifests, stress manifests differently for everybody. So it's important to understand how stress manifests for you. And so ways that you can do that. Number one is do a body scan at any given time. So you're going to start with the top of your head, take some deep breaths and just really give yourself some time, but focus in on all parts of your body. When I was experiencing burnout, I was so tense in my shoulders. I was constantly getting massages, or trying to anyway, trying to put that in my schedule, right? I was getting sick more than often. So I was going to the doctor more than I ever had, like random illnesses. And headaches, right? So thinking about all the ways that our body can hold tension and stress, and just notice that throughout your body. Do a scan. And I noticed, even for myself, for stressful moments, like I have a really tight jaw. I know that's a common thing too. We're kind of like clenching, like, oh, right? So the body scan is going to be a super helpful thing to start off with. Um, and then obviously, like thinking about those times when you really want to be relaxed, like laying down and going to sleep. What comes up for you? Are you thinking about your business nonstop? Are you actually on your phone when you're supposed to be sleeping, typing something out, or trying to follow up with a client, or marketing, or whatever, right? So think about where your energy and your thoughts are flowing right now. And think about how that feels. Like, does that feel good? Does this feel pressured? Does this feel heavy? You got to kind of sift through a lot of the information that's already right there.
Are you a high achieving female leader ready to break through your success ceiling? I would love to invite you to join the Aligned Leader Circle, a warm, welcoming space where ambitious and smart female leaders come together to grow. This isn't just about developing your leadership skills. It's about aligning your mindset, emotions, and body wisdom so you can lead with greater ease and purpose. In this exclusive community, you'll experience real transformations, gain deep self-awareness, and connect with women who are committed to thriving. If you're ready to go beyond your limits in a safe, collaborative environment, visit angelamarie.co/individuals to join us at Founders Rates for a limited time only. Now, back to the show.
Yeah. Yeah. I will definitely say that when I am stressed out, my body is the first thing to let me know that I'm stressed out. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's so easy for us to ignore, to think like, oh, I'm just tired because I'm just tired, and because life is stressful and the world is on fire, right? Like, it's easy to just think that there's so many like external things that are causing you stress and causing you to be tired. But I do find that sometimes, like if I'm laying down and I'm trying to rest and I can't rest because I'm thinking about something in business, I'm thinking about something in my personal life, right? I'm not actually resting.
Right.
I'm just laying there and my mind is, wandering. And, so I love that you bring that up, because it really is key for us business owners, I believe, to really check in with our bodies and to sit in that. And I have learned that through yoga. I
Yeah.
used to teach yoga years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been practicing yoga for a while. And so I've gotten to that point where my body really, like my hips get tight,
Yep.
my shoulders get kind of tight, like I feel like it's hard for me to speak up, like my throat chakra is kind of blocked, and all those kinds, like when I get stressed, I really kind of like, it's like my body goes like this.
Right.
Um, and so it's important for us to really kind of recognize those things. And I think I would like to add that I feel like sometimes as business owners, we don't stop enough for us to feel that stuff. We kind of just push through, right?
Yeah.
Like, are you taking enough pauses to realize that your shoulders are up here, have been up here all day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're just plowing through and you're just so focused on what you're doing, you're in that mode of stress. Your shoulders have been up all day. You may not even realize. Or have you taken a stop to take a deep breath, right? Like, can you feel your feet on the ground? Like I will absolutely feel like I'm not grounded if I have too much stress or too many inputs and things going on in my brain. I really like, what are some things that you find or that your clients find that are helpful when they're feeling that sense of like overwhelm in business, that help them to kind of bring them back down to reality?
Yeah, so you touched on a lot of the great pieces right there I'm going to talk about. So you're on it. But definitely when we're feeling that, what I also like to do is kind of do a little bit more of that reflection. So like you said, taking that pause. So instead of reaching for your phone, when you go to lay down, maybe it's just doing that brain dump. I really have my clients, especially who are super stressed, do it in the morning and at night, or during the day, whenever you need. Like after a heavy meeting, after your therapy session, whatever that is, like dump, 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 because your brain is so full all the time, especially if you carry multiple roles. We're talking about, you're the CEO of your company. You're probably also the COO or the CFO, or right, like you got a lot going on just within that. Then we talk about you have a house to run, or you have family members to care for, or whatever that is. Like you have so many hats. So really giving yourself a place to not just carry it up here, but getting it out. So voice noting, just, whatever, getting that off your chest. Writing is so powerful because we can actually see it, right? And it kind of slows us down a little bit. So doing that. And like you said, taking more breaks. I really want you to challenge yourself to schedule more breaks for you. So I don't know about you, but I used to set up my meetings back to back to back to back so I could maximize my time, right? But it's important, especially if you're feeling that stress, to give yourself windows in the middle. And I know it's not as efficient, if you will, but it is in the long run, because you're giving your nervous system that time to just come down for a second, your brain the time to pause and process what just happened over here instead of rushing to the next thing over here. So definitely give yourself that pause. Movement, like you said, so walking, yoga. I like to go outside and walk. I like to go outside and, walk out in the backyard or sit there, and do a little swinging or whatever I need to do. But I love the movement aspect because it gets us out of our head. So the more, concentrated, like the yoga, or anything that you can do. Sports is super fun, right? Because you're concentrating on something else, but your body's kind of moving through it. So that can be a helpful thing to kind of burn some of that excess energy off. That can kind of get build up as we go through our day. So yeah, I think those things, and really, taking stock of everything that's going on, going back to that assessment phase. Really, I have an exercise that I do with my clients, and we take a look at many different areas in our lives, our personal relationships, our business, our finances, right? We kind of go through and just rate everything, like where's my level of satisfaction in all these areas. And so that also helps us get clear on where we need to focus our efforts. So it could be a ton of things, stressing you out, or it could be one thing stressing you out. And so then that's where we know we need to make an intervention.
Yeah, those are great things. Like, so to recap what you said, one is getting it out of your brain. So like really like doing like a brain dump, or like, taking all that stuff and getting it out of your head. That also is really helpful for me too. Like I recently restarted journaling. I used to be a big journaler. And then I kind of honestly fell off for like a couple years. And I just recently started getting back into it, because I do find sometimes when I'm about to lay down, when I'm laying down to get ready for bed, my mind is still going. And when I get it out, it helps.
Yes.
Another thing was you were saying is take more breaks. And I love that too. Like I just got back from a vacation where I went on a girls trip, went to Jamaica, had a fantastic time. I only took out my laptop to run payroll, and that was it. Like I absolutely am someone who does not like, I feel like it physically hurts me to work on vacation. Like I really don't like I hate it. Like if I'm like, oh, like last vacation I took when I was in February, I had to do some work. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got to pull out my laptop. I got to work. I want to just do nothing and sit by the pool. And so what do you say to those people who feel like they don't have time to take a break? Like, especially like if we think about our business owners where we're at now, right? Like, we're scaling, we're growing, we're getting more clients. We may have more team that we're managing. We have more money flowing in. We have so many more moving parts to our business. Like, and they're just like, I don't have time to slow down, or I don't have time to take a break. Like, what do you say to those people?
It's really this reality check, but it's like, if you don't make the time, your body will take the time to right you if you are not right. So, again, that can manifest in illness, that can manifest in so many things, that we need to make that time proactively, preventatively, so that we don't end up in the hospital. We don't end up, I know people who have worked themselves into heart attacks, young people, not old people, young people, 30s, etc., right? Like have worked themselves into heart attacks and hospital visits and all these different things. Like, I don't want that for you. I really don't want that for you. And so it's hard to do, but it's necessary to do. And there's a lot of layers that go underneath this too. It's also, when we do the deep mindset work, in the work that I do, we have to understand the fundamental beliefs that are driving you to work this way.
Mhm.
because typically what's
Mhm.
going on is there is a belief of I'm not good enough, I'm not capable, and it kind of sounds counterintuitive, but that's what drives this overdoing, right? This
Mhm.
overactiveness. The other piece that where it can show up is I do also what's called parts work, and we identify there's different parts of us that activate, and we have what's called managers in our system that activate to keep us in control of every situation and relationship so that we don't get hurt. So they're protecting us. But a lot of that comes out in striving, in controlling, in self-criticism, in right, like all of these things that are hurting us, right? It's our system's attempt to protect us, but we have to have better relationships with those things. So beliefs and your managers. I could go on about this for 8 hours straight, but we do have to have a good relationship again with ourselves, with our stuff, in order to work in the way that's going to be sustainable and healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so important, right? Like, I mean, because I love that you said if you don't make the time, your body will take the time. Because your body's job is to really kind of protect you. And if it needs to slow down, it's going to slow you down. And so I would rather take the time now to prevent that prevent it from happening and preventing, from me having a traumatic,
Yeah,
mental breakdown or a panic attack or something like that, right?
right.
Like I want to prevent that. I would rather, take the time now than have to make that time later. And I also want to say, like, like we can do hard things because I get it. Like, I'm in a place now where I also feel like, I'm scaling. We just added a new team member. And so things are moving and I'm excited. Thank you. And I'm excited. And it's great, but it's also, me having to understand that even though I'm in a season that is requiring more from me, I also have to up my self care.
Yeah,
I have to make sure that even, I have to show up more. Therefore, I have to show up for myself more. And so I love, all that you said about that because it really is key to making sure that we are proactive about our health rather than being very reactive. Um, so I love that. So tell us a little bit about one of the things I'm working on
mhm,
myself, and I want to, this is kind of will be the last thing I want to pick your brain about before we wrap and you can tell everybody how they can work with you um is this like space of honoring how you work
mhm.
and when you work. One of the things I've been working on with my therapist, and I've been in therapy for like 2 years, and I've just graduated to monthlies. I was on weeklies, and then I did bi-weeklies, and now I've
Yeah,
graduated to monthlies.
yeah,
um, I actually just met with her today, which is funny. But so one of the things we've been working on is honoring when and how I work, because for me, like, like I left corporate. I was, in corporate, did the corporate more so than I have been out of my business. Like I've been full-time in my business for 2 years.
mhm,
I was in corporate for, 11, right? And so I still had that corporate mindset of like,
okay,
you have set times when you work 9 to 5, right? Like,
mhm,
that's the times that you work. But I always had to realize that, like, I was miserable starting my days at 9 o'clock. Like when I had to be out of the house by 8 o'clock, it literally was like me dragging myself out of bed. It was me scarfing down some yogurt
yeah,
and running out the door because I was running late because I'm not a morning person. And even
right,
though I've tried to become a morning person, everybody says you're supposed to get up at 5:30 a.m. I'm at the point where I'm at this point now, I'm just like, F
yeah,
that because that's just not something that works for me. And so now I start my days later. Like I don't start, client stuff or start doing really any work until 11 a.m.
mhm,
And I like to work later. Like I would rather work, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. because then that's when I feel like I hit my stride where I can really like kind of lock in.
yeah,
People aren't like, pinging me and stuff like that. I can really kind of lock in. And there was this tremendous amount of guilt that like I had to kind of move through, and these feelings of, oh, you need to be working, you need to be working, you need to get up, like, everybody's up and everybody, people are pinging you on Facebook, and you need to start your day earlier. But I
yeah,
had to kind of go on this journey of self-acceptance, I guess it's more so like of accepting how I work.
yeah.
So what advice would you have for someone who may not feel like they work in the traditional corporate kind of setting, or maybe that doesn't work for them? What advice would you have for them, if as they are a business owner and trying to kind of create their own rules? Really,
Yeah.
is what we get to do as business owners.
Yeah, so a few things that you said definitely align. So I would say one is going to be knowing your values. Two is going to be accepting your aligned way of doing business. And three is going to be having grace for yourself. So going back to number one, knowing your values. For me, I was really always struggling in the traditional work environment because I didn't want to get up. I actually had a report to work at 8 o'clock, so I didn't want to get up early and do all that anyway, like either. And have to like put on my face and see people and talk to people, right? Like that early, like that just didn't, that was a struggle for me. Did it for many years, right? But in doing my own values, deep dive exercise, my number one thing was freedom. That's a personal value to me, and that is a value in my business. That is why I started my business, is I wanted freedom. So I started my own therapy practice. I wanted freedom to be able to charge what I wanted, work when I wanted, work with who I wanted. And then I started my coaching practice to get even more freedom, right? Because I have a regulation to report to too in the therapy world. So even more freedom in that business. So knowing your values, and then that second step is accepting those, and feeling them through your body. What's aligned with me? I get to do this. Giving yourself that permission, like I get to do this. I make the rules. I call the shots. Like this is mine. I'm creating this. I get to. It's okay. I'm the boss here, right? Like so, you have to do a lot of affirmation too for yourself and permission giving of like, hey, this is my shop. I get to run it how I want. And people hit their strides in a lot of different times during the day. Like my best work hours are probably going to be, I would say, like I don't know, 10 to 1. That's me, right? You 6 to 8, whatever, right? And that's totally fine. And let it just be that way. And we get to do our best work during that time. So if I'm scheduling a master class at noon, that's why, because I'm going to show up with my energy versus at 6 o'clock. I'm already tired. So that's how we are all different in that. And then that third piece about especially being a leader and a CEO, we need so much to give ourselves grace on a daily basis. Like the need for that is so high. Being a female, being a CEO, being all the different roles that we're in, like we balance so much. And because we're leaders, because we're calling the shots, making so many decisions per day, maybe more than an average employee might, right? And decisions that are going to affect people's lives and livelihood, right? Like big decisions, not just what are we having for lunch? But we need so much space, grace. We need to forgive ourselves. Like we just really need that self-love, like on 2,000% at all times.
Yeah. Those are fantastic. Like I love, the part about, honoring your values. Cause you're right. Like, one of my values is freedom, like in freedom in so many different ways, like, financially, mentally, all kinds of things, right? Just being able to be free, and live your life the way you want to live. And so, locking back into my value, it makes me realize that, like I need to be free to work when I want to work. Right. And it does help you to release that kind of guilt. And I will say I did have to go through this whole, like, giving myself the affirmations of it's fine. I work in marketing. I'm not curing cancer. Nothing is an emergency in marketing. There's nothing that is going to, be life or death in marketing. Right. And so, having to walk myself through that sense of that need to be like always on, or have that sense of urgency to get back to someone, within 2 seconds, right, of them sending me the message. Those kinds of things are things I have really had to tell myself, like, it's okay. You're going to be fine. And recently I've been telling myself it's going to get done. Right. Like, cause I know I have a track record of always getting shit done. Right. And so even if I am taking a little time, or I'm like, taking a rest or whatever, like I know stuff always gets done. And so I have to remind myself that I am capable and that I do get stuff done. Even if I am taking a break, or even if, I am starting my day later than anybody else's. So I love all of those things. So thank you so much for coming, Angela. This has been fantastic. I know everyone out there will definitely benefit from the information that we shared. So tell everybody about how they can work with you, where they can find you online. And if they want to connect with you and go deeper, let them know how they can do that.
Yes, thank you so much. I love this conversation. I could again have it for 8 hours straight. But yeah, these are a lot of the things that I want leaders to do to help themselves because as leaders we need to invest in our self care, and that's how we're going to make a bigger impact for the good in this world. So, ways you can work with me. I have my one-on-one confidential coaching program. I call it the Brain Soul Coaching Program. That's because we work on holistic ways to support your brain, body, and soul through this time as a leader, as a public figure. So we're working on ways to envision your future, your legacy. Like, what do you want that to look like? We are aligning your somatics, your mindset with that vision, and we're embodying all of the things that you want to embody, your values, the way that you want to work in that program. So it's amazing. We started at 3 months. We can go all the way up to 12 months. And you can find everything about that program and how to reach me at my website, angelamarie.co. And then if you want to connect with me on social media, it's at the Angela Marie Williams. And you can find me pretty much everywhere. I don't think I have a Twitter, but everywhere else.
I love that. Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely make sure that if you are looking for someone who is one, not only, licensed in this area to be able to help people, but also is a coach that can go deeper with you than sometimes a therapist can actually go with you. And I will say, like, as an entrepreneur, I happened to start therapy right around the time I was about to leave corporate. And it wasn't planned. It just that's just where it happened to be. And it helped me tremendously. Like it's helped me, in so many ways that I couldn't even envision. And so if you are a little afraid to kind of face your shit, because that's what you got to do when you hire a therapist, is you got to be ready to face your shit. If you are a little afraid, right, like just understand that it's a part of the process, and actually taking that first step and actually starting to face it is really how you move through it. And then you start to realize that you build that muscle, you build that confidence in being able to deal with things that come up and that kind of stuff. So definitely make sure y'all reach out to Angela if you are looking for coaching or therapy and that kind of stuff. But yeah, make sure that y'all share this with a friend, like share this with your biz bestie, because at the end of the day, like, what is the point if we don't enjoy the journey? Right? Like, what is the point of building the 7-figure business if you didn't enjoy it on the way? What's the point of having all the money and all the impacts if you don't actually love your life? Like, at least from my perspective, what's the point, right? So make sure you get the coaching that you need. Make sure you get the help that you need. Make sure you share this with a friend. And if you have not followed the show yet, definitely make sure y'all following Roadmap to 1 Million on all the different podcast platforms. I know Angela also has a podcast, the Bigger Braver Life Show. Make sure y'all check out Angela's show as well. So we're going to go ahead and end this here. If y'all have any questions or any follow-up things you want to reach out about, definitely feel free to do that. If you want me to get you in touch with Angela, please feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to do that.
Hey everyone, if you liked what you heard today and you want to get in touch with myself or Stacy, we invite you to do so. You can find Stacy on Instagram at stacyzeal.co. That's stacyzeal.co. And make sure to tune in to her podcast, Roadmap to 1 Million. And as far as me, you're always welcome to come to my DMs. My social media handles are the Angela Marie Williams, and you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. If you want to work together, you are always invited. We can have a conversation about what would be the best for you going forward so that you can enjoy the journey and really expand the things that you get to do in this life. All right, take care. Talk to you soon.
If you're enjoying the Bigger Braver Life show, make sure to subscribe and leave a review so this show gets to more leaders like you. I also invite you to join the weekly newsletter fusing brain science, intuitive-based tools, tips, and strategies for you to elevate your potential, expand your impact, and enjoy your life. Get started at angelamarie.co.